The lights didn't go out in America's factories because of strikes or storms. They went out because raw materials stopped arriving. On Friday night, Donald Trump quietly signed an order cutting tariffs on over 40 critical imports. Nickel, gold, drug compounds, the very things he once claimed the United States didn't need. According to Reuters on September 5, 2025, these exemptions take effect immediately. The United States Geological Survey says America is 100% reliant on foreign sources for 32 critical minerals. Bloomberg adds that China alone controls 90% of the world's graphite processing. So why would a president built on tariffs suddenly rip them down? Is this strategy or is it surrender? The executive order reads like an admission slip. Each item named is a material the United States cannot produce in adequate volume. Nickel for batteries, gold for finance and electronics, graphite for energy storage, lidocaine and other pharmaceutical ingredients for hospitals. The Wall Street Journal reported that even aircraft parts and select agricultural inputs were included. The criteria were simple. If America couldn't make it, it got a pass. The numbers behind the decision are stark. The United States Geological Survey confirmed in 2024 that domestic nickel production covered less than 10% of demand. The only U.S. mine in Michigan produced 8,000 tons last year, while imports totaled 100,000 tons. Nearly half of that came from Canada. Recycling accounted for 54% of use, but much of that scrap was sourced from abroad. Without exemptions, American manufacturers risked idling within months. Trump didn't frame it as weakness, but the data made it unavoidable. Gold tells the same story. U.S. mines produced about 160 tons in 2024, while imports added another 150. Switzerland supplied nearly a quarter, Canada 19%, Mexico 15%, Colombia 9%. According to the Financial Times in July 2025, American refiners were already warning of bottlenecks as tariffs raise costs. By removing duties, Trump offered them breathing room, another admission slip. And then there's aluminum. The U.S. consumed 1.8 million tons of bauxite in 2024, but imported 2.8 million tons. Two-thirds of that came from Jamaica. Brazil provided 68% of America's alumina imports, the processed form needed for smelting. Bloomberg reported in August 2025 that U.S. smelters were one shipment away from curtailments. Trump's order opened the door. It was framed as reciprocity. In practice, it was survival. But exemptions are not open invitations. According to Reuters, tariff relief only applies to nations willing to sign reciprocal agreements. Canada, Mexico, and Japan already qualify. China, Brazil, and Switzerland, three of America's largest suppliers, do not. Which raises another question. What good is an exemption if the key providers refuse to sign on? Trump calls it leverage. The supply chain calls it exposure. Pharmaceuticals make the exposure plain. The Food and Drug Administration reported that 80% of active pharmaceutical ingredients used in United States drugs are imported. Hospitals faced shortages of generics during the pandemic. By exempting raw compounds, Trump tacitly conceded what health officials already knew. Domestic capacity doesn't exist. Another admission slip. Now the most uncomfortable truth. The International Monetary Fund reported in July 2025 that more than a third of global trade flows are now dominated by a small cluster of suppliers: China, Brazil, Canada, and Switzerland. The United States depends on each of them for at least one material on the exemption list. If any one of them withholds supply, American industries stall, which leads to the question, no press briefing answered: are these tariff cuts bargaining tools or silent acknowledgments that the United States cannot operate without its rivals? Markets reacted fast. Bloomberg tracked a 3% drop in United States steel producers the day after the order. Pharmaceutical stocks gained 4%. Goldman Sachs analysts told the Financial Times the exemption package could shave 0.2 percentage points off inflation in the next quarter. Traders saw an admission slip in real time. Washington had blinked and supply chains would move again. While exemptions made headlines in Washington, the fallout rippled globally. On September 6th, Reuters reported that the European Union immediately convened trade ministers to assess whether Trump's carve-outs violated World Trade Organization norms. European steelmakers complained that the selective relief gave Canadian and Mexican exporters an advantage over European firms still facing tariffs. Brussels hinted at retaliation, raising the prospect of another transatlantic clash. Asia responded differently. The Financial Times noted that Japanese automakers celebrated their new tariff cut, planning to ship thousands of additional vehicles to U.S. ports within weeks. Toyota and Honda stocks jumped nearly 6% in Tokyo trading on September 7th. By contrast, South Korean officials worried the exemptions excluded key chemical exports, leaving Seoul vulnerable. One ally surged forward, another stood sidelined. Emerging markets also saw opportunity. Bloomberg reported that Brazil's Vale, the world's largest nickel producer, held back shipments in anticipation of renegotiating contracts with U.S. buyers under the new rules. Traders speculated that Vale's leverage could push nickel prices higher, even as American firms expected relief. The tariff cuts were meant to reduce costs, but in commodity markets, relief can quickly flip into scarcity pricing. Meanwhile, China's response was calculated silence. State media highlighted U.S. dependence on Chinese graphite, noting that exemptions could not change structural reliance. According to Reuters, Beijing quietly reminded Washington that any further restrictions on semiconductor equipment exports would invite symmetrical retaliation. The message was clear. Every exemption is an admission slip, and every admission has a price. At street level, the impact reached consumers. Bloomberg tracked an immediate dip in generic drug prices at major U.S. wholesalers, with some anesthetics falling by 12% in the first week. Shoppers saw headlines about tariffs and trade wars. Patients saw cheaper medicine. That disconnect between politics and everyday reality may prove to be the most viral story of all. Domestic industries were less enthusiastic. The Aluminum Association warned on September 7th that tariff cuts on bauxite and alumina risked gutting U.S. smelters. They argued for domestic investment, not foreign relief. But investment takes years. Tariffs vanish in days. Another admission slip. The geopolitical dimension deepens the tension. Canada welcomed exemptions, but, complained that plastics and solar inputs remain tariffed. Reuters reported that Ottawa may trigger a USMCA dispute settlement. Brazil withheld judgment, but its bauxite and coffee remain essential. Without Brazilian cooperation, exemptions lose much of their effect. Even allies are cautious. Congress joined the debate. Senators asked why raw nickel was exempt, but not finished EV batteries. The Financial Times noted their concern that automakers might still pay higher costs, even while miners and refiners gain relief. The policy was meant to ease supply chains, yet it fractured them instead. Each carve-out exposes another admission slip. Manufacturers felt the difference immediately. A Midwestern aerospace firm told Bloomberg on September 6th that production resumed after tariff relief on titanium sponge. A solar company in Arizona, by contrast, warned of ongoing delays because polysilicon remained tariffed. Factories restarted in one sector while others stayed stuck. Exemptions were lifelines, but not universal ones. Forecasts diverged. Morgan Stanley projected a 0.3% GDP boost if exemptions hold for 12 months. The Peterson Institute countered that selective carve-outs erode trade credibility, weakening U.S. leverage against rivals. One saw a short-term lift, the other saw a long-term cost. Another admission slip. Every forecast carried the shadow of dependence. The legal system added its weight. Earlier this year, the Court of International Trade ruled that Trump's emergency tariffs exceeded his authority. The appeals court allowed them to stand temporarily. Now, with exemptions layered on top, the very legality of the framework could collapse in one ruling. The Wall Street Journal noted that corporations are preparing for either outcome. The judicial fight is compressed into a single point. If tariffs themselves fall, exemptions mean nothing. At the ports, the contrast was vivid. Containers of drug ingredients sailed through customs without new duties. Solar panel parts sat untouched, waiting for tariff clearance. The exemptions mapped not just economic need, but political priority. Every container became a ledger entry in America's list of admissions. Trump positioned the order as strategy, rewarding partners, pressuring rivals. Yet each exemption underscored reliance. Gold, nickel, graphite, aluminum, pharmaceuticals, each one an admission slip written into law. The White House insists it's leverage. The data reads as confession, and confession has consequences. According to the International Monetary Fund in July 2025, the dollar's share of global reserves has fallen to 55%, the lowest in a quarter century. As tariffs vanish on the very goods America cannot produce, the world reads the signal. America depends. America adjusts. America admits. Factories restart. Ships unload. Markets exhale. But one question remains suspended over the exemptions like smoke over an idled plant. When every tariff cut is another admission slip, how long before the ledger stops looking like strategy and starts reading like surrender? We're glad you're enjoying this video. Please like and subscribe. Check out another video that is now on your screen.